What's up, everyone? Looking to do some DIY on your Audi 2.7 liter biturbo. Basically, in this video, I'm gonna just give you a quick run over of everything you have to do to change valve cover gaskets and cam seals, half moon, cam chain tensioner gasket, all that stuff. And I just finished doing this on the car, but the driver's side timing was a little bit off after I put everything back together, so I gotta open it up and readjust my timing. But I thought that basically that'd be a good point to show you guys kind of what it looks like to take off the valve cover and get in there with all that stuff, at least on the driver's side for now. I'll show you guys the passenger side next time, but we'll start like this. As you can tell, I already have some of it apart, but we'll use this as a pretty good representation. So basically, let's say your Y pipe is on the car. It's going to be held in by these 3 bolts. So you need to undo those, disconnect where this hose meets your mass airflow sensor right here and your air box. So you're going to take this off, loosen these, there's one on each side, and then you're going to pull it out, make sure it's disconnected from there, and just pull it off. Super easy. The next step after that, I mean, I've seen different ways of doing this, but I had undone this right here and this right here. We start with this inlet pipe and hoses. Might as well just pop it off there. In my car, there was some oil running through these, so you might want to have like a shop towel or something on hand. After we do that, we're going to disconnect this guy. And basically, just so you can see, this is the one for the driver's side. This end actually sits right down here in that housing that I've covered with shop towel. Slides right in this direction, and it will basically match up with your other one connecting to that. As you can tell, oh, I just lost, no, my hose clamp. But the way that these are secured, once you put it in that hole, this is going to have a 10mm bolt that actually connects right into there, just sinks in, and it will sit in the perfect spot. Next up, we're going to kind of be focusing on these. At least that's the order that I did it in. So I've got my Y pipe off, I have these off. I've taken this off by undoing that bolt right there, pulled it out. Now I've got to take these. So this is what it looks like when it's off. For the driver's side again, I marked them just because an ounce of prevention, you know. But this goes into this tube here where this shop towel is located. Slides right in. This end slides right into there. And in turn that will be sliding into there and get tightened down. I pull mine out from here first, then up the top. Obviously I had it in service position when I was taking it off originally. It's a little more buttoned up now. I guess I shouldn't have skipped over this, but all I've done here is disconnected this sensor from the coolant expansion tank, and I pulled up this hose from back there so I can move it forward and out of the way enough that I could access all my ignition coils and get the valve cover off of the engine. At this point, the next thing that you're going to do, or want to do probably, is take out your ignition coils. There's 3 on each side, as you can tell, and the driver's side is a little bit more packed in and closed off, but you pretty much have to remove things to even get to those, which makes even like changing spark plugs kind of pain in the butt in this car. In case you didn't know how to take these out, you probably want to use like a flathead screwdriver. Just position it in there so you can carefully pop the clips up. Once you get it kind of loose, you really should just be able to pop it out by hand. And there's 2 bolts securing each one in. So you want to undo these bolts. Take the coil out. Unplug the ignition coil from this right here. These packs go to each coil. You don't need to remove your oil cap. That's all fine. It's going to come out with the cylinder head. The next thing that I did was loosen these 2 bolts on my front timing cover, just to give it enough room so that this would move when I was undoing these, because the cam chain tensioner gasket is going to sit right in there, and the half moon is going to be directly underneath that. So I'm going to take out my ignition coils and loosen that timing cover, and then I'll show you guys the next step in getting this valve cover off of this car. Before we get too much further, I think it's really important to mention that these need to come off, and if you are looking up this video, it could be exactly because of this problem. But if you see that thing right there, that is where your combi valve is going to sit. And that's these 2 little MFers right here. As you could tell, it basically just sits in a perfect position to keep you from getting the valve cover off the engine. And it may not even serve a purpose other than that, but these things are a huge pain in the ass. They sit on these right here, and there's these 2, if you see those 2 holes, there's 2 screws that, or bolts or whatever you want to call them, that are going to be threaded up through that and hold this combi valve right there. And it took me, I don't know if this is exactly the same for your car, but it took me probably like 6 hours just to be able to get one of these off. And at the very end, I realized that these 2 bolts that secure this thing on there are reverse threaded, so I was turning it the wrong way the whole time. You're gonna have to undo these crimp clamps too, and order some new ones off Amazon or something. They sell like variety packs of those clamps with pliers for pretty cheap, so you might struggle with this, but don't give up, because it all makes sense. And hopefully you guys found this video before you spent hours turning this thing the wrong way. It's also like incredibly hard to get to those bolts because you don't have very much room. So You might actually consider using a tool like this that you can get up in there at a weird angle. I think what it comes with is a number 5 hex head. Pretty sure it's a number 5 hex. On one side mine was the original OEM hex heads, and on the other side it was 10mm bolt. Something I imagine a mechanic did afterwards, but something definitely to think. This is also hooked to the Y pipe, so you just pinch these and pull it out. Comes out really easy. If you're maybe still wondering if it still is valve cover gaskets that are giving you all your problems, I was misfiring in pretty much every cylinder and blowing white smoke out the back and dripping a ton of oil onto the exhaust, so it looked like there's smoke coming out of the engine bay. And I just barely finished replacing the valve cover gaskets, all the seals and everything. So we're gonna see if there's a bunch of oil in my spark plug wells. When I noticed that I was misfiring so crazy, and obviously my first thought was to look at spark plugs, and when I took off these ignition coils, the bottoms of them were just like dripping oil, and like the whole spark plug well in every one. All 3 of these on each side. Actually, I think this one was dry, but all 5 of the other ones were just totally filled and drenched with oil. So when I take these out, this will be the first time I've looked inside here since I finished doing all the seals and the valve cover gaskets. I started up, let it run for a minute, and obviously I got check engine light. Is throwing a code for camshaft position sensor, which is this guy right here. I'll give you a better view of it in a second, but I posted on Facebook and in a forum, and most people just said that my timing was off, so I'm gonna open it back up and just make sure that it's lined up the way that it should be, and there's 16 links or whatever the number is in between the timing marks, and then we'll try her again and see what she does. But I'll be really satisfied if there's not oil in these spark plug wells after it running. So now that we have unbolted all of these ignition coils, I'm gonna lift them out and unplug them, and we'll get a peek inside. All right, moment of truth. We're gonna see if there's oil in my spark plug. They're all unhooked. Wow. There's a little tiny bit of remnants, I think, that I need to clean out. But there's no new oil in these wells. Which in my mind is a very good sign that I followed the steps right to replace the cover gaskets. I mean, you guys just had to have seen these things before. It was absolutely bizarre. Well, all right, now that we have those out, these off, we're going to disconnect this. Just pinch it, push it off. be careful, you don't want to break it. Next, you will, if your car is in service position, I would push this back a little bit towards the car, just to give you some slack on this expansion tank and this hose in particular, so you don't have to take it off. This is held in by two 10mm bolts. You're going to undo that, which we'll do, and then we'll just set it aside. Then these bolts, 3 on top, 3 on the bottom, 2 in the center. Just take a look around, be patient. Probably need an extension. As soon as you get done with that, this is connected to this connector right here that you're going to push in, unclip. Similar like locking mechanism as this, but it's just right on the end of that camshaft position sensor, cap, trigger wheel, cover, whatever you want to call it. Then you're going to push in on this, pull it out, disconnect it, right? And it might take some maneuvering because this heat shield is in the way, but then in theory you just can lift this up and out of the engine. I'll try to add that to the clip. If not, I'll post it in another video, but at that point your valve cover should be off. Should be at your cam caps. You want to put in your cam chain tensioner tool. This dropped on the ground. The one I had when I was doing the passenger side and initially bought for both sides was plastic right here, and it ended up snapping under this cam chain, so we upgraded to the 034 Motorsports cam chain tensioner tool. I'm definitely not sponsored by 034 Motorsports. That's going to screw in. I can post a video of that too, or add it to this one. And then you're going to want to put brake clean on your cam chain so you can make marks to line it up with, so you're on time when you put it all back together and go start it. And you're going to loosen all of the cam caps, starting with these ones, then moving to the ones on this end, back and forth towards the center. We'll get to putting it back on and how to torque it down right in the next video, but at that point you should be good to remove the valve cover gaskets and replace it with a new one, and get this cam chain tensioner gasket and the half moon seal underneath it. Pretty easy. This won't come out all the way, but you can lift it up enough to get that under there. And if you guys have any questions, just let me know. Hopefully I can help you figure it out.